record-breaking heat that spread across the Gulf Coast, especially Texas late last week, and then into the desert Southwest, is now going to be moving north and east. It's actually arriving in the southern Midwest earlier than what was ever expected. The St. Louis area is already under the influence of a heat advisory until 9 o'clock p.m. Heat indices expected to peak past 105 degrees today. That's in response to heat and tremendous humidity. Dew points well into the 70s. That continues for tomorrow. We're going to put an emphasis on the humidity right now. Temperatures are extremely hot as well. Today, it's the classic temperature during a heat wave. High temperatures well into the 90s. That's St. Louis, Missouri for you. Tomorrow, we are going to eventually talk about perhaps things which are not classic in terms of temperatures, but let's right now focus on the dew points, which are not 100% classic either for tomorrow. Some of the computer models, like the European computer model, shows dew points getting very close to 80 degrees tomorrow morning in the St. Louis area. That would put a heat index of about making it feel a dew point of 79, which is what the European computer model is showing for University City. That's the St. Louis County. That would make temperatures feel about 18 degrees warmer than what they actually are. If the temperature is 90 degrees, that effect becomes intensified the higher those temperatures go up. Dew points are expected to drop a little bit tomorrow afternoon, but remain extremely humid well into the 70s. As those dew points drop, those temperatures are going to rise, not just because it's the afternoon, not just because the sun is out and the surface is under the hot sun for more hours, but also energy is released when those dew points drop. That will add a couple degrees to what the high temperatures are forecasted to be for tomorrow. On Tuesday, we will be seeing some drying out in the St. Louis area. A pocket of dew points in the 60s will move into the St. Louis area for Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening. Right now in the state of Missouri, the St. Louis area is actually the dividing point between dry soil to the south and moisture-rich soil to the north. In fact, some areas are reporting moisture which has 100% soil, which has 100% moisture capacity, which is really over central Missouri. So we have some areas of pockets of dew points that will be very close to 80. Other areas where dew points will be dropping into the 60s. As you get across the Mississippi River, those dew points would be in the 70s pretty much area-wide. No 80-degree dew points. Well, you know, what would happen? You have an 80-degree dew point that crosses the Mississippi River. You would think it should remain also very close to 80. Dew points upper 70s. Dew points well into the 70s in the state of Illinois. Higher dew points, in theory, should bring down those temperatures by a couple of degrees. Yet, that's not being discussed. Now, here's what's the forecast highs are going to work out like this. So today, it's basically the classic St. Louis stuff, a little bit more humid than classic, but pretty much classic. Something that would be occurring in July is occurring in June. No big deal. We've seen it before. Temperatures soar well into the 90s in the St. Louis area. Dew points in the 70s. Heat indices about 105, perhaps even higher than that. We do have a wind, however, and that wind will be reducing that the heat index. If there would be a 6 mile per hour wind, the heat index today would be between 104 to 108 degrees. That would be the peak heat index for the St. Louis area. That wind is going to make it feel 3 or 4 degrees cooler than what the heat index is. So we're going to remain heat indices will be at 108. That's on the official heat index chart, but temperatures are going to feel more like 105 and not as opposed to 108, and that's because of the wind. Maybe even temperatures feeling somewhere between 100 and 105 in regards to That's in comparison to what St. Louisans are usually used to. Obviously, the sun is going to make it feel hotter than that, but we're used to the sun. We know what it feels like. Whatever we think 105 heat index feels like, it's actually going to feel a little bit cooler, probably about 4 degrees cooler than what we're used to 105 degree heat index feeling like. Now, for tomorrow, that changes. And that changes because winds, when temperatures are higher than 95 degrees, winds actually make it feel hotter outside than cooler. The only thing is that if it's humid outside, you have to wait until the temperature hits 96, 97, perhaps even 98 degrees before winds have such an effect. However, it's also going to be that hot in St. Louis as well. So even with the high humidity, winds will still be making it feel a little bit warmer than what they really are for tomorrow afternoon when we have afternoon highs in the upper 90s. You know, the National Weather Service informs us that the temperatures 5,000 feet above the surface, which the computer models have a good handle on in general. They seem to have a good handle on that. It's 28 degrees Celsius, which we're going to call for 82 degrees Fahrenheit. Back in the beginning of May, we called it for 77 degrees, 5,000 feet above the surface. On this podcast, we said that translated to 91 degrees on the surface when days were 14 hours long. And that's what temperatures were expected to be around the St. Louis area. But since the official reporting station in Lambert tends to be a few degrees warmer than the surrounding areas, we called it for a high of 94. It indeed was 94. This time of the year, we're dealing with a time period when days are 15 hours long. That increases our surface heating to, you have 82 degrees in the upper atmosphere. That's going to translate to at least 97 degrees on the surface. That's at least 97 degrees on the surface, possibly 98 degrees on the surface, which would translate to the official reporting station being at about 101 or 102 degrees. That would be for the St. Louis area. It's easier if we could work with the Celsius system for right now. So let's make these forecasts based on Celsius, and then we're going to translate that to Fahrenheit. The temperature is 5,000 feet above the surface, 28 degrees Celsius. That's going to translate to 38 degrees Celsius on the surface for this time of the year when the sun is as strong as can be at a very high angle. The sun is at a higher angle than it was in May, and the days are 1 hour longer. So we're going to put that at a 98 degrees Fahrenheit, or you could call it at 37 degrees Celsius.